What's happening, y'all? Today, um, guess I'm gonna take a stab at Nikki Minaj's comments on the COVID-19 balls phenomenon. But first, I want to thank everybody for following and liking and subscribing my content. If you haven't been here before, ladies and gentlemen, welcome. My efforts are to expose the lunacy that is surrounding the current situation with vaccinations and COVID-19 in all its forms, and how the public in general are choosing to conduct themselves, how they take to the information, how they are representing themselves as understanding the information. And hopefully I can educate some people and point some people in the right direction, or at least help people to hone their cognitive skills to be able to make informed decisions about their choices with regard to healthcare and what they hear, read, and whatnot. Hopefully, we can, take a look at some of these things and laugh and learn something at the same time. So I'm going to, like I said, take a stab at Nikki's comments. She was up in arms about a cousin of hers, or she said she said in a tweet, and they characterized it as dubious. Nikki Minaj tweeted a dubious claim regarding the COVID-19 vaccine and her cousin's friend's testicles. God, I always say that you have to take anecdotal evidence with a grain of salt. There's always a woman with a story, unfortunately. Not necessarily, but we deal with a lot of women with stories here. But also there are guys out here, a bunch of guys who are call themselves pro-black hoteps, whatever you want to call them, who latch on to these stories like rabid dogs and, espouse them as fact. My cousin, uncle's, nephew's friend on the left-hand side told me a story about a swollen testicle infected by a vaccination. That doesn't make sense to anybody. A blind Chinaman reading that in Braille would probably bust out laughing at that. Okay. It doesn't make any sense, and I'm having a little fun. Nowadays, cancel culture, sorry, Chinese people, I didn't mean anything by it. But I digress. We'll continue. So here we have a story run by the BBC, and it shows you just how wild, these stories become, and just how anybody with a little bit of celebrity becomes a go-to as far as, what's real and what's not, and people have to react to it, take time out of their day, and, it's just ridiculous. But here we go. All right. Nicki Minaj's swollen testicle claim wasted Trinidad health officials' time. There's a cute little picture of her, post plastic surgery and whatnot. Although she always had a cute face, but you know the deal. Anyway, health officials in Trinidad wasted so much time trying to confirm Nicki Minaj's comments about the COVID jabs effect or side effect, according to a government minister. The rapper tweeted disinformation about side effects of the coronavirus vaccine, saying that when a friend of her cousin's had the jab. His testicles swelled up, and he became impotent. She claimed it happened in Trinidad. Health Minister Terrence Dayashaling said officials take all claims seriously. As we stand now, there is absolutely no reported side effect or adverse event of testicular swelling in Trinidad, and none that we know of anywhere in the world, he said in a press conference on Wednesday. Nikki made the claims on Twitter earlier this week. This was in September. Sorry, it took me a minute to get to it. Here's her tweet. My cousin in Trinidad won't get the vaccine because his friend got it and became impotent. His testicles became swollen. His girlfriend was weeks away from getting married. Now the girl called off the wedding. So just pray on it and make sure you're comfortable with your decision. Not bullied. Okay. Many people have pointed out that the side effects Nikki described could be those of sexually transmitted disease, chlamydia. The state of her cousin's friend's testicles has since been retweeted nearly 90,000 times. It was brought up at a press conference in the UK with UK Prime Minister Boris Johnson. And if that's not enough, stick with the story to the end, and BBC political editor Laura Kusenberg, Piers Morgan and Health Secretary Piers Morgan and the Health Secretary get involved. That is untrue. Things really escalated when Nikki and the swollen genitals were mentioned to England's Chief Medical Officer, Professor Chris Whitty. Professor Whitty said that Nikki should be ashamed when asked about people spreading misinformation online and whether coronavirus might have caused her cousin's friend's testicles to swell. There are a number of myths that fly around, he said, some of which are just clearly ridiculous, and some of which are clearly designed just to scare. That happens to be one of them. That's untrue. Boris Johnson commented that he'd rather get information on coronavirus from Dr. Nikki Minaj, NHS England's medical director of primary care, than from Nikki Minaj. We don't know if the rapper was watching live like a lot of people in the UK, but she saw the clip and responded several times. First, she accused Professor Whitty of dissing her. Wow. Well, that can't be allowed. I love him, even though I guess this was a diss. The accent, yes, boo. Holy shit. All right. Then she recorded a voice note of Boris Johnson pretending to be British, an Oxford graduate and former school friend of Margaret Thatcher. You know what? Let's see if these will play. Here we go. Hold on. Here we go.
In my view, they should be ashamed. And I'll leave it at that.
Just on that, Steve, I'm not familiar with the works of, or not as familiar with the works of Nikki Minaj as I probably should be, but I am familiar with Nikki Kanani, superstar GP of Bexley, who's appeared many times on before you, who will tell you that vaccines are wonderful and everybody should get them. So I prefer to listen to Nikki.
Holy. Okay. Let's go on and listen to Nikki's response here. Give me a second here.
Yes, hello, Prime Minister Boris. It's Nikki Minaj. I was just calling to tell you that I thought you were so amazing on the news this morning. And I'm actually British. I was born there. I went to university there. I went to Oxford. I went to school with Margaret Thatcher. And she told me so many nice things about you. I'd love to send you my portfolio of my work, since you don't know much about me. I'm a big star in the United States.
Jesus. Oh, okay. Here we go. This was shared by the BBC political editor, Laura Kissenberg, which among the other 29,000 retweets it received was noticed by Nikki. The rapper shared Laura's comments, appearing to call her a jackass, and signed off a retweet. Go away, Dumbo. Piers Morgan's involvement is a bit of a side note to the story, as the former Good Morning Britain host, unprompted, criticized the rapper's comments as lies, calling her ghastly and one of the rudest madams I've ever met. Okay, Nikki says she never met him. Okay, spreading untruths. And if you thought that was the end of it, you'd be wrong. Saeed Javid, the UK Health Secretary, was asked to comment on Nikki Minaj, the swollen testicles, when it comes to something as life-saving as vaccines. In this country, there are 112,000, fewer deaths we estimated because of our vaccine program. They should be really careful about what they say and not spread untruths, he told the BBC Breakfast. Speaking to Sky News, he said people that are in the public eye, whether they are a celebrity or a politician or whoever, they should be very careful with their language, and certainly shouldn't be spreading untruths. Okay. So there's that. And go to a second one here. Okay. Nicki Minaj's claims on COVID-19 vaccine and men's sexual health doesn't stack up under scrutiny. All righty. Corona Check is RMIT ABC Fact Check's weekly email newsletter dedicated to fighting misinformation and infodemic surrounding the coronavirus outbreak. You can read the latest edition below and subscribe. Okay, never mind. Yeah. So clearly there's a effort to thwart the misinformation that's out here, because it's having a terrible effect. If you don't know how bad propaganda can be, take some time out, go read about propaganda and its effects on people, how it is a tool of war that is basically being used on the public right now. A lot of times there are different elements behind it, but you can bet that they're not in the public's best interest. So let's move on. Corona Check number 83. In this week's Corona Check, we take a look at the misinformation surrounding the effect on male genitalia of COVID-19 vaccines and ivermectin. We also bring you research from the team at Armit Fact Lab, who last year surveyed 1,400 Corona Check subscribers to find out if they were susceptible to sharing misinformation. The results will surprise you. Okay. Rapper Nicki Minaj's COVID-19 balls up. All righty. U.S. rapper and singer Nicki Minaj dabbled in epidemiology and men's health care this week, tweeting a warning about COVID-19 vaccines to her 22.6 million followers. My cousin in Trinidad won't get the vaccine. Yeah, we did this in the last one. Because won't get the vaccine because his friend got it and became impotent. His testicles became swollen, Nicki Minaj claimed. His friend was weeks away from getting married. Now the girl's called off the wedding. So just pray and make sure you're comfortable with your decision, not bullied. Okay, there we go. More pictures of Nikki, blah, blah, blah. Okay, but experts say there is no evidence that COVID-19 vaccines cause swollen testicles or impotence. Tweeting in a response, Western Sydney Health listed common vaccine side effects, including pain at the injection site, tiredness, and headaches, adding that the side effects mentioned by Minaj don't happen after COVID vaccine. We promise. Okay, Western Sydney Health in a tweet said, we promise to leave the rapping to @Nikki Minaj if she leaves medicine to doctors and scientists. My sentiments exactly. Common side effects after a COVID vaccine are pain or swelling at the injection site, tiredness, headaches, muscle pain, fever, chills, and joint pain. Things that don't happen after a COVID vaccine. And they put Nikki's tweet down there about swollen testicles and, people not getting married and whatnot. They go on to say, we promise to leave the rapping to Nikki Minaj. Okay, we went over that. Leave the rapping to Nikki and leave the doctrine to the doctors and the science to the scientists. All right. Trinidad and Tobago's Health Minister Terence Delasing also weighed in, telling the press on Wednesday there had been no such reported either side effects or adverse events in the country, matching Minaj's claims. In the entire country, folks. So Nikki just lied. She just lied. And unfortunately, people are out here lying because they're just afraid. And it's okay to be scared. But what's not okay is to lie to other people to get them to take a stance or to have a reaction based off of your fear. Okay? They go on to say, we wasted so much time yesterday running down this false claim, Dr. Delasing said. Jim Buttery, an infectious disease physician and the chief clinical research information officer at the Royal Children's Hospital in Melbourne, told Fact Check via email there was no evidence that COVID vaccines can affect male sexual function, fertility, or cause swollen testicles. However, he added, there is evidence that SARS-CoV-2 infection can infect the testicles. Indeed, in a recent article for The Conversation, Ranjith Ramasamy, an associate professor of urology at the University of Miami, detailed how research undertaken by him and his colleagues found the Pfizer and Moderna mRNA vaccines to be safe for the male reproductive system. The same could not be said for COVID-19. An analysis of the testicle tissue taken from 6 men who died from COVID-19 showed the presence of the virus in one of the men, while 3 showed a decreased sperm count. Wow. Okay. Learn something new every day. So COVID can affect your sperm production. And I'll have to look into that. Yeah, let's look at that recent article. Yeah, I'll be pulling that article there. You guys check it out too. I may have to do something on that. Okay, another patient who survived COVID-19 had a testes biopsy about 3 months after his initial COVID-19 infection cleared up. The biopsy showed the coronavirus was still in his testicle, Dr. Ramasamy reported. Research also showed the COVID-19 could cause extreme erectile dysfunction. Okay, fellas, this is important, manosphere folks. This is very important. Likely due to the disease causing reduction in blood supply to the penis. Okay? There is no evidence the vaccine harms the man's reproductive system, Dr. Ramasamy concluded, but ignoring the vaccine and contracting COVID-19 very well could. So if it affects blood flow, it can affect blood flow to the testicles, which can cause, possible necrosis. Could also cause some some death of your sperm. Also lack of blood flow, also causing erectile dysfunction. I mean, true. All these things could be a problem. Okay. No, ivermectin does not make men sterile. As the Therapeutic Goods Administration announced this week, it was banning off-label productions of ivermectin in order to curb its use as a COVID-19 treatment. Incorrect claims that the antiparasitic drug causes male infertility went viral online. Yet more lies. If you guys can't see it, there's a reoccurring theme, and that is lies, lies, lies. And they know that people are too lazy to go back and try to read and confirm or dismiss claims about some of these drugs and about some of these treatments and about what should be used and what shouldn't be used. And it can be dangerous, people. It can truly be dangerous. Okay, social media users, as well as at least one news site, suggested the drug used to treat parasitic infections in both humans and animals, but which has not been approved to treat or prevent COVID-19, cause men to become infertile or sterile. Ivermectin causes sterilization in 85% of men, the study finds, declared a since retracted headline on Texas news site KTSM. Texas is becoming problematic. You see this over and over again, and I think it's because of its political system. Because it is politically not a move that is tasteful to a certain party, all kinds of claims are coming out of Texas. And it's unfortunate. Texas used to be at the forefront of a lot of things. Now, not so much. Okay. Some Twitter users reacted gleefully to the claims, capitalizing on the political divide that has emerged over the drug's use against COVID-19. Wait. So one of the side effects of taking ivermectin is infertility. One popular tweet read, "I'm changing my position to fully support Republican men's efforts to heal themselves. Keep going." Here we go. See, just like I just said. But according to Neal Wheaty, an associate professor in the University of Sydney School of Pharmacy, the study referenced as a basis for the infertility claim was poorly designed and conducted, and the results should not be used to make clinical decisions on whether or not to take ivermectin. Okay? Here's another thing we see all the time. Studies that are being referenced that have not been conducted properly, and the same wording is being used. Poorly designed studies and poor results as a result of the studies not being conducted properly. Okay, this study conducted in 2011 by Nigerian researchers screened almost 400 men diagnosed with onchoriasis, or river blindness, with ivermectin is used to treat. Which ivermectin is used to treat? Just 37 of those men had a sperm count considered normal and were therefore considered suitable participants of the study. According to Dr. Wheaty, this indicated a potential inherent issue that may have affected the study's results. He added that the study drew on a very small sample size. See, we talked about this again. This is something that people have also talked about. Well, let me finish the paragraph. Okay, very small sample size to determine whether the results are real or not. That's no statistical analysis of the results was conducted, and that the study did not mimic real-world use of ivermectin. Okay, so that's another deal. So you have a lot of people that are saying, "Oh, well, we can't trust this. The vaccine hasn't been studied. It hasn't been peer reviewed." All these other things that these people say, and the fact of the matter is, here's a small study. This is, 400 people. But you also have studies where, 10,000 people is usually the sample size. It's about 10,000 people, or more. Okay. Well, with the vaccines, millions of people have had this vaccine with no problems, and that sample size is larger than any other test in the history of mankind. And that's not good enough for a lot of people. Unfortunately, I don't even know how they can even, fix their brains or their mouths to even say that, but let's move on. Each patient was given ivermectin daily for a period of 11 months. Dr. Weedy explained in an email, noting that in Australia, ivermectin would not be taken for any longer than a month. Continuous exposure over 11 months is likely to have chronic effects different from normal usage. Fact checkers agreed that the research should not be relied upon, with PolitiFact labeling it an obscure, outdated study. AP Fact Check, meanwhile, wrote that the decade-old study had been called into question for flaws in its research methods, as well as problems with the journal's peer review process. Speaking to fact checkers at Reuters, a spokesperson for the U.S. Food and Drug Administration added that infertility was not a known side effect of ivermectin, and it was not currently included as a side effect in the administration's labeling. So there you have it. Okay. There's a little bit more here. Wow, this is kind of long. Okay, so we'll cut it off there. I'll add these two here, and if you guys want to go ahead and dive into that, you please, by all means, and don't take any kind of medical advice from the likes of Nikki Minaj, or people who are not versed in the sciences, tinfoil hat wearers, or anybody who just doesn't really respect the process, or isn't involved in the process in a meaningful way, and their whole objective is to basically counter the data that's out there with nothing but anecdotal evidence, unreliable evidence, stories, all this stuff that they make up. Whatever sticks to the wall, they shoot for it. And this is not reliable. This is not something that will keep you safe. You guys, please like, share, and subscribe. And I hope this was of use to somebody out there. I appreciate you guys. Thanks for all the donations, the support, and I will try to continue to give you guys good information straight from the source, from the real source.
You are listening to Abuki Cabal, the analytical savage.
In a world overrun with the fake, delusional, and disingenuous, he stands as a beacon of truth. He is Abuki Cabal.
I feel like a motherless child, a long way from home, a long way from